First of all, I'm sure with the work that you've done and the way that you're so well known, you must be, how can I put it, in demand as a patron and to support various organisations. Why do you support Emmaus in particular?
Well, you're quite right. I mean, life is very busy. Since I came out of captivity, which is 70 years ago now, believe it or not, you see how grey my beard has got. But 17 years. What I determined to do then was to earn my own living by writing and lecturing, support myself, and then give time away to a whole variety of organizations with which I'd been associated previously. So I work with a lot of different charities. I don't take any money from the charities, obviously, but support myself. And Emmaus for the homeless is one of them. And the reason I like Emmaus is, first of all, it isn't a religious organization. And I think that is important, that it's a secular organization that actually welcomes all people through the doors.
Yeah.
Secondly, when we set up a community, we set it up in the midst of a community. So it gives to the wider community, and the wider community give and support Emmaus. It's not a ghetto. And I think you can see here today, here in Mossley in Manchester, what a wonderful open place this is.
Yeah.
And thirdly, it does get people back on their feet. People who come into Emmaus leave the door behind and actually work according to their capacity. So they're earning their own living, and it works.
And you've probably found the same as I have. I'm kind of been around the place. There's a really nice atmosphere about the place, isn't there, as well, when you talk to the people who work here?
That's the thing, you see, because the important thing is that people who've been on the streets or been without a home come into a community, and it's a warm, friendly community.
Mhm.
They have their own room, of course, with their own bathroom. I mean, a good standard of accommodation. And we do that because we recognize that if you're going to treat people with respect, if you want them to have self-respect and have respect for other people, you must treat them with respect. And people respond to that. I mean, they're great. And lots of people who come in there are some people, of course, who, because of stupid behavior, have got themselves into difficulty. But there are a good number of people who just suffered real misfortunes in life. Very easy to go down, to lose a job, to find yourself on the streets. And I've met in Emmaus, former officers from the army. I've met former bank managers who've got into difficulty, who've lost their home, lost their job, lost everything.
Yeah.
And where do you go? Very easy to go down, very difficult indeed to get back up. And one further point, sometimes if you're homeless, you go to the state and they provide you with a flat or an apartment or whatever, you go into that. It can be very lonely if you've no prospects of a job, and if you can't get a job and can't mix around with people.
Yeah, people being able to support each other that have been in the same situation.
Exactly, that's the point. That's the point of an Emmaus community. People support each other.
Fantastic. Just quickly, I was having a conversation earlier with somebody, and we were talking about history, and of course, many people remember what happened to you when you were in captivity and that kind of thing. And the comment I made that was, it's kind of like watching the whole thing happen again. Things don't seem to have moved on. Do you feel that way when you look at the news and you see what's happening in the world at the moment?
It's got very much worse in terms of hostage taking and terrorism. It really is an alarming situation. And I have to say this, and I'm going to be very straightforward with you. The West, that's America, I put a big responsibility on the shoulders of the American administration, as well as we've gone along in Britain. We haven't really been opposed to it. We've made the situation of terrorism worse by condoning such actions as extraordinary rendition, Guantanamo Bay, use of torture. What has this meant? Because that has been practiced by so-called civilized nations. What it's meant in effect is that the radical extremists have been able to say to impressionable young people, look, this is the way the West behaves towards Islam. Come and join us and fight them. And they've increased the ranks of the terrorist. And of course, it leaves you, once you engage in torture, and put people in Guantanamo Bay without trial, outside the normal judicial process, outside the rule of law, you're simply asking for trouble. It is crass stupidity, and I don't mind saying so.
And
And I've said that before.
high ground now.
We've lost the moral high ground totally. I mean, fortunately, as soon as this happened years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, I wrote a chapter in a book condemning it, and I stuck my neck out. But I'm glad I did, because I was right. I knew I was right in that one. And I'm not saying it from a point of view of arrogance, but the point of view of respect for human rights, or respect for common human dignity. And we've lost, as you quite correctly say, we've lost the moral high ground. And it's going to be very, very difficult to regain that.
One of the things you do hear, which is quite common, your average man in the pub is, it's all religion. Religion's caused wars for years and years, and it kind of looks that way now. What's your opinion on that? That does religion in itself? I know it was always a great help to you and your faith. Does religion itself, as a global thing, a good thing or a bad thing? Can we exclude it from?
Well, I must say, to be perfectly honest with you too, religion at times can be an awful nuisance. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. And it can propagate ideas and ask people to believe things that really are not essential to the core of belief. I think at the heart of most major religions lies a fundamental truth, which, if practiced properly, and could be marvelous. The fact of the matter is, though, that religions take upon themselves all sorts of encumbrances and become something other than what they're supposed to be. Now, if you take the essence, for example, of Christianity, the essence is, put it very, very simply, love your neighbor as yourself. That is the essence of it in a simple sentence. Well, if we practice that, and if followers of Christianity practice that, would they engage in some of the things that take place? And some of the extremists, of course, in Islam, who are behaving in those extreme ways, killing innocent people. As I understand it, that goes fundamentally against the essential teachings of Muhammad and the Prophet, because it's essentially against his teaching. And so, I think it's a big responsibility on religious leaders, and I'm not one. So, but I mean, essential responsibility on religious teachers to get the essential message across, that, and where they see people straying from that, to condemn it, to actually say that is wrong. And Christian leaders and Muslim leaders particularly have a responsibility to do.
You in particular must have a really good overview, particularly with regard to Islam and the West and Christian religions. Is there a lot of common ground there if we take the religion at face value?
Well, there is a lot of common ground, and I do quite a lot of work in that area. I mean, I'm giving you this interview now in Mossley, just on the outskirts of Manchester. Tomorrow I shall be in Chester, speaking at an intercultural meeting. I shall be speaking about intercultural relations. I think if people of different cultures get together and really make an attempt to understand each other, that can be really enriching, really fulfilling and wonderful. The fact of the matter is that very often we don't do that. And the responsibility isn't just people who are, what might say, white Anglo-Saxons. The responsibility also lies with the, let's just say, for example, the Asian community also to make efforts. It requires efforts all the way around, because good intercultural relations don't just happen. They have to be worked for.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be very important in the coming years, when we are possibly going into a recession, and when jobs might be on the line, and when more people might become unemployed. There is often a tendency in such times like that to actually put blame or responsibility, or to persecute groups who are seen to be responsible for taking British jobs, or for being in that sort of a position, minority groups. And I think we have to be especially careful of that in this coming age.
Just very quickly, I know there's people waiting to talk to you, and just one last brief thing. If there are any lessons from from your experience, from the experiences that we've been through over recent years since you were released, even on a personal level, what lessons can we take from history, if you like, or recent history?
Well, I think this. I think of course, the world is changing, and it's changing rapidly, and that will always be the case. It always has done. But the speed of change has moved on. It's gone faster and faster and faster. I do think it's important that we really make attempts to understand other cultures and where they're coming from and what their aspirations are. And this political idea of isolating people because you don't agree with me, let us say, North Korea or Iran or what have you, because you don't agree with it, therefore I'm going to isolate you. That simply confirms people in aggressive behavior. What we do need to have is more dialogue, more constructive diplomacy, if you like. And I can only hope that we could move into that in the future. I think that's one of the big things we've got to do.
Mm. Okay, thanks so much. I know I've put a lot of pressure on your time and other people are waiting. I really appreciate it.
Not all, if I can just
Great to meet you.
if I just take this opportunity to wish all the listeners a very happy Christmas and hopefully a good New Year. And to thank all those who've supported Emmaus,
Yeah,
Thank you very much for that.
absolutely.
And I know those who have supported Emmaus have brought at least a bit of a happy Christmas to many people. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you very much.